I took one of the lightest releases in Beyblade X and made it stand up to some of the strongest combos in the competitive meta, all by utilising possibly the simplest strategy in the game. When Ghost Circle released back in December 2024, players didn't really know what to make of it. On one hand, it was the lightest release of the entire generation, but on the other, it did have fantastic stamina. Unfortunately, in a game where attack types are currently dominating, and just happen to be the natural counters to stamina types, Ghost really struggled to find its place. But while I was testing this out, I really got to see what Ghost can do, and I'm honestly convinced with just a few changes, we can turn Ghost into an absolute stamina powerhouse. So, let's take a look at it and see if we can get the most out of Ghost. But first, I want to talk about friend of the channel, OrenoBeys. OrenoBeys is an independent shop that specialises in custom Beyblade accessories like launcher and winder grips, along with these really cool deck boxes that come in a bunch of different designs. They're also starting to stock more bays and individual parts, so if any of this sounds cool to you, check them out in the link below and use code LOWTIERBAYS at checkout for 15% off. Thank you OrenoBeys, and with that, let's check out the stock combo for Ghost. Starting with the blade, we have one of the most perfectly circular blades in the entire game. To fully utilise this design, a lot of the metal is pushed to the outside, which generates more outward force and helps a lot with stamina. Also, as an aside, this might be one of my favourite looking bays. I really love the purple colour scheme, and the ghost motif is just genuinely fantastic. The main idea for this blade is, because it is so rounded, it's really good at parrying and deflecting attacks, as there's no real contact points for your opponent to catch onto. However, like I mentioned, this blade is light, and I mean like really light. Any head-on collision is going to send Ghost flying, and more often than not, it's going to be directly into a pocket where that tiny design does nothing to help it escape. Next up is the ratchet. 080 was such an interesting choice to me. It's almost the exact same size as the blade, and it's just as rounded, with the only contact points being these three little protrusions at the bottom. I actually really like 080 as a defense type ratchet. Even though it's a taller ratchet, it does have surprisingly good burst resistance, especially if you're using the Hasbro one. Unfortunately, Ghost has this weird design where there's a huge gap between the blade and the ratchet, meaning almost anything you use with it is that little bit taller. So putting this stock combo on an 80 height just makes a massive target for over finishes. Finally, we have the bit, and for some reason, they put this on Gearball. Now, if you've been keeping up with the channel, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of gear bits. I don't mind them on attack types, as it actually makes sense for those to hit multiple dashes, but I don't understand why you would want a stamina bit that can hit multiple dashes in a game when those dashes take up so much stamina. On top of this, Ghost weighs practically nothing, so it's really not the type of bay that you want to rely on to hit big counterattacks. On paper, Ghost Circle really felt like it was destined to fail. However, while testing it out, I noticed something weird. While it's true that bigger attacks send it flying, smaller, more frequent attacks have basically no effect. These little barrage attacks chip away your opponent's stamina, and they're basically the deciding factor when it comes to survivor finish. But because of just how round and light Ghost is, these attacks did basically nothing, meaning if it survived the early game, it was almost guaranteed to win via spin finish. So I think that if we can make a combo that can utilise this and survive the early game, we might just have a real stamina contender here. So let's see what we can do. Starting with the ratchet, I really want this bay to be lower, but that was a little bit harder to do than I thought. Because of how small it is, most of the ratchets aren't very well protected, meaning almost every choice is going to be at least a little bit of a burst risk. Originally I was going to go with 960, as it does have great burst resistance and it is on the smaller side when it comes to ratchets. However, I decided to take a bit of a risk here and go with 160. There's actually a few reasons for choosing this ratchet. For one, 160 also has fantastic burst resistance, so even though its protrusion is sticking out almost as much as the blade, I'm fairly confident that it's going to be safe. The teardrop shape of 160 also has a lot of benefits. It can help to escape pockets, it can kick you back up if you get destabilised, and because it has a little bit more weight on the outside, it further increases that outward weight distribution. But the main reason I chose 160 is it allows Ghost to lean into attacks. This makes sure that the contact is going to be with that rounded blade where it can fully parry off and essentially negate the impact. Next up is the bit. Originally I wanted to go for just any low bit that I can get my hands on. Low orb seemed like a really good contender, but it was really bad for getting destabilised after just a few hits. So to try and address that, I chose Freeball. Freeball is a surprisingly tanky stamina bit thanks to the fact that it's missing that internal gear ring. Because of this, it is allowed to freely spin inside the blade and dissipate any impact, meaning that this thing actually can take a hit or two without completely dying. Stamina bits also have good early game movement, which is helpful for letting Ghost dodge those attacks and actually use this strategy. If you put this all together, you get a Bey that can dodge early attacks and then lean onto the opponent in the late game, using the circular design to slowly drain away their stamina. So, let's test it out. Scale does have really good stamina, surprisingly good stamina, so this could go either way. But Ghost just holding on. Good hit there. Right on the button, but I think Ghost was able to kind of glance that and then dodge the second one. You can just start to see the spin difference here. It's gonna be another one for Ghost. I can come sharp there. Okay, I think that's gonna be too much destabilization. I don't think Ghost can come back from that. Yeah, too much. There. And Ghost somehow called it short. That one will take a little while. And that's going to be a spin finish. Okay, that's definitely a win to Dragoon. I actually can't believe this. And that's another win for Ghost. Yep, you saw that right. Ghost Circle actually outspun Dragoon on Elevate. This definitely isn't easy to do, but with just the right angle, Dragoon can actually spin steal from it. I really can't explain just how surprised I was with this combo. I've seen some people use a more aggressive build for Ghost and actually have some success, but a combo that's more about dodging the early attacks then using a weird shape to negate the late attacks, that's kind of more my style. So, what do you think of this combo? Is it something that you would run for Ghost, or do you have a different idea for it? Let me know down in the comments, and while you're there, remember to check out OrenoBeys. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.